I realized I didn't do an intro. I just started talking. I just started talking. We did a documentary on type 1 diabetes. That's what this entire thing was about. We filmed, we edited, we took pictures, we took cover photos, we did a bunch of things for this documentary. It revolved around Candace. This entire thing was mostly around Candace. I was in the background. I did most of the editings and did most of the filmings and did most of the, photos and things like that. I was in the background, so there's not a lot of photos of me or a lot of things like that. It revolved around Candace and her story and one other person's documentary about type 1 diabetes. Like 15 to 20 minutes documentary. There's also a YouTube video that we uploaded, which is our actual documentary. This series mostly revolves around Candace. So I wasn't in the documentary like itself. I was there to just help with filming and lighting and music and editing, so I was more in the background than anything else. Everything's really slow, so we're gonna see if this uploads correctly. And if it's blurry, that is why. If it's blurry or if the quality is weird, it's because I just moved to a new place and really good that I ended up switching my project. I think I switched to this project because I was with Candace. We went to go out to go eat, and she was telling me about her senior project, and I believe it was my grandmother who has type 1 diabetes. She passed from type 1 diabetes. I didn't know her that well, so I wasn't really affected by it. But my mother was. I wasn't affected as much as my mom was. But I know it was genetic, so I was scared that my mom was gonna get it eventually at some point. But I remember Candace telling me her diagnosis story and everything that happened since she was little, and how it affected her life and how it changed her life for a huge deal. And I thought of my grandma. I was like, you know what, I want to learn more about type 1 diabetes. I want to learn what my grandmother went through, how that changed her life. I know I can't compare Candace's to my grandma's story because everybody's different. Everybody has other things, and every person is different. But I wanted to get a basis of what that was like for her. I also just like filming. I like films, I like videos, I like cameras, photography, videography. I know I am not great at it. I know I am not, but it's just something that I like to do. This documentary is meant to educate people like myself because I didn't know a lot. One of the reasons was that I think me and Candace worked really good together, was that she loved spreading awareness. She went to galas, she went to balls, she went to gatherings and things like that. She was really good at that and she had a passion for it. And I just liked videography. I liked camera work. I liked, filming people and things like that.
But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control.
Our process was going to be get the supplies, obviously, create the YouTube and the Instagram account, and get the interviews and have Candace's diagnosis story and film other parts of her daily life as a diabetic. And we were going to do 3 people. Okay, it was going to be Emily Thrasher. We were going to do her. We were going to do Camille, but we ended up putting it off for a little while because she had other things that she needed to do, and we weren't able to get a set schedule with her. And eventually everything happened with COVID, and we realized that we were too late into getting an interview, and we had pushed it off so much that we couldn't get her in the documentary at some point. So we only had Emily and Candace. She wanted to sit down by herself and talk about her diagnosis story. And I'm gonna put a little photos of all the interviews and her diagnosis story where she sat down and talked about some of the history, and she sat down and she talked about what it was like for her and what it was like mentally for her, because it's a disease. It's a very, if you don't take care of it, it's fatal, you know? So it's like, it's a thing of where mentally it took a really big toll on her, because at the same time she had different aspects of her life that were they were all going at her at once. They were all hitting her at once. And hopefully maybe you'll see it in the documentary where she talks about that. We filmed the interviews, and then she also filmed her little pack on the side. She filmed herself taking it out and putting it in, and what it's like putting in a new one. Oh, it's a Dexcom. That's what it's called. It's called a Dexcom. So good, you know? Fantastic. So we made the Instagram account. I'll put the Instagram account also in here. We made the YouTube to upload what we were gonna do. I remember one of the first things I believe that we filmed was Candace getting her tattoo. The tattoo that she got was "I am greater than my highs and lows." It's like a little, I'll insert a photo in here. And that was one of the very first things we filmed, and you know, it was a fun experience. Candace got her tattoo. I asked her if it hurt. She said not really, but the interview with Emily, that wasn't anything too big. We asked Emily basic questions like, does a high or low blood sugar feel like, or what are some of your pet peeves and stuff like that. My dad's here. Ignore the background noise. I lost my train of thought. Oh, right. We had set a set schedule for everything at the beginning when we started the senior project in general. We were gonna do Emily's interview on this date. We were gonna do Candace's diagnosis story on this date. As soon as we hit the tattoo, we were like, we're not gonna follow the schedule. Go a little bit more in depth in Candace's series of videos. So she explained her diagnosis story, the history of diabetes, what a low and high blood sugar felt like, and some awareness, lack of awareness, I guess, in a lot of social media and mainstream media. I guess there wasn't a lot of representation in mainstream media, so that's a big thing that she talked about. But I will not go into depth, because you need to watch the documentary for that. I'm just explaining my progress. And then the final part that we did was editing. That's a lie. That was not the final part, but that was the big main thing that we had to focus on at the end. I did not get, because we were so focused on the editing that I did not get it. I wasn't really paying attention to whether I took pictures or videos or not. So the editing was, we would edit that point then and there. We would film it and then edit after it, which probably wasn't a good idea, because by the time we had to kind of piece it all together, we were a mess. We had no idea how to use Adobe. Eventually Candace figured it out, and then she helped me out, because I was like, I have no idea. Adobe Pro is what we use to edit the documentary. I filmed Candace while she was figuring out how to work it and how to split audio and detach things and put things together. I was working on the slide. I hope my thing isn't a mumbly jumbly mess, because currently I have been filming for half an hour, and I know this needs to be 10 minutes, and I've been filming for half an hour. Like I said, I wasn't a big part of being actually in the film. I had never done a project, a videography project this big, like a film this big. I have done many things here and there for like fun. So like I would put clips of me and my dog walking together or something like that. You know, I've always wanted to do something bigger and better. And one of the, I think, big challenges was trying to make it look nice, trying to make it look good. There's a giant fly, especially with not having a great quality camera. You know, trying to work around that and trying to make it look pleasing to the eye, and what type of music is good for what scenario, you know, trying to figure that out. And again, like I said, I have never worked on something this big. I have never put together, and I know it's maybe like 15-20 minutes, like it's not something that's like an hour, you know. That's my senior project. Took me and her a really long time.